Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, we're talking about the Brooklyn Nets again. We talked about them the other day after the loss of Spencer Dinwiddie, and things have gone downhill for this team lately. It's a team that a lot of people are paying attention to, and I've definitely got a lot of thoughts. I've watched plenty of Nets basketball, and there's definitely some things going wrong with this team right now, and it might not be exactly what you think that it is. So the big issue right now, everybody's pointing it out, right? The Nets are giving up a ton of points. They have not been able to guard very well. But it goes much, much deeper than that. It's not just, they can't defend, they're not putting in effort. It's not exactly that. And we talked when Dinwiddie went out, and the Nets have only won one game, a very close game against the Hawks, since Dinwiddie has gone out. We talked about the impact that he has on this team and what he means to this team and, the versatility that he provides. He's kind of that glue guy. He's in between multiple different positions, doing a lot of different things, providing length and versatility, especially in that starting group, but then obviously it has a trickle-down effect throughout the rest of the roster. And so that's definitely been a struggle for this group. And at certain points, this is a personnel issue. And that's one of the things that I mentioned in a previous video and on Twitter last night was that, they're probably still a player away defensively, going to get someone like PJ Tucker, going to get a wing that can defend and can shoot to really round out this lineup. And that's been the case for a handful of teams in the past that have been really good, but they need one more piece. And the Nets are probably in that position. But it's not just, they can't guard. There's a couple other things happening here because the Nets are actually, surprisingly, I looked this up this morning and was shocked, are actually still a top half of the league team in defensive rating. And the reasoning for that is because even though they play at such a fast pace, on a per possession basis, they're not actually that bad defensively. They're not, all the way down to the bottom of the league, but they are giving up a ton of points. They're, bottom 10 in the league in points per game because they do play so fast. And so you might be wondering, wait, but they look so bad defensively. How are they only how are they still top half of the league in defensive rating? Well, one, a lot of teams are really, really bad in defensive rating right now because they're just kind of a mess trying to figure it out. The Nets are not the only team having defensive issues. I feel like the last 4 team videos that I've talked about have been about teams that are having defensive issues. But the other part of this is it's not just, them being able to guard in the half court. The Nets are, actively hurting themselves in other parts of the game, and that is what is contributing, or part of what's contributing to them giving up so many points. So they're turning the ball over a ton right now. They're, bottom 10 in the league in turnovers per game, and that's creating a lot of easy chances, easy opportunities for the other team. And then the other part of this is defensive rebounding as well. They're giving up a ton of second chance points, and those two things combined are creating a significant deficit between the amount of shots the Nets are getting compared to the amount of shots the other team is getting. I think at one point last night I was watching the Wizards game, and they had like almost 20 more shots from the field than the Nets. And that's going to happen when you're having possessions in which you're not even getting a shot attempt, aka a turnover, and the other team is getting a ton of extra chances via offensive rebounds and otherwise. So those are really, honestly, in my opinion, it's not just about, they need to guard better. But those two areas specifically are the biggest points of improvement for this team, is those turnovers and those defensive rebounds. And the reason why all of this is concerning for me is not just the record. It's not just, the impact of not having Dinwiddie on the floor. It's that they have this record at 3-4, despite the fact that KD and Kyrie have been fantastic. Like from an offensive, numbers, efficiency, everything standpoint, with the exception of some of the turnover stuff, they have been about as good as you could possibly expect either one of them to, considering KD didn't play at all last year and Kyrie only played like 20-something games. Like, they have been incredible. And there are other parts of this roster that, are lagging behind a little bit. The DeAndre Jordan, Jared Allen thing continues to perplex me. DJ is basically a token starter at this point, and then Jared Allen, plays the majority of the rest of the game. There's some small ball minutes. DJ gets back in there a little bit, but he's basically a token starter. Drives me nuts. And then Caris LeVert has been, quite frankly, really, really bad, especially from an efficiency standpoint. Has really struggled with his shot, whether it be from the outside or in the mid-range. All those typical Caris LeVert things that you see, he's struggling. And it could just be a slump, or it could be, an issue where he just has not been able to adjust to this new role that he has now with the Nets, where there are other guys that he has to share the basketball with. Typically, he's on the floor with either KD or Kyrie for most of his minutes. It's very rare that both those guys, as of late at least, are off the floor at the same time, and Caris is out there by himself. There were times in the past where KD and Kyrie would come off at the same time, and then, Dinwiddie and LeVert would be out there, but he's definitely had some struggles, and he's a guy I'm going to continue to watch because that hurts the Nets in two different ways. Obviously, one, it hurts them on the floor because he's not playing well, but two, if he was someone that they wanted to trade and move, his value would be going down because he's not playing well. So that's someone to definitely keep an eye on there. So overall for the Nets, their issues go a bit deeper than I think, a lot of people are willing to admit or willing to look into. It's not just they're not guarding. I do actually think there's like a good amount of effort being put in at times defensively. I think they're just a little bit scattered in understanding when they need to help, where they need to help, and sometimes it's too much and they're helping too much, and there's a lot of, dishes in a lane where guys, coming over on the driver too quickly. There's a lot of fouling happening. There's a lot of little defensive things that need to be cleaned up. But overall, if they can, tighten up some things defensively on the glass and tighten up some things offensively in terms of turnovers, they realistically could be a top 10 defensive rating team, which is kind of ridiculous considering the amount of points that they're giving up. But again, because they play so fast, they're going to be giving up 110, 120, but they're going to be scoring 120, 130. That's just kind of how they're playing right now. We'll see if they can sustain that for the entire season. But from what I've seen, the best way that this team plays is they play fast, they play decisive. There is plenty of spacing, there's plenty of scoring, and as long as they take care of the basketball, the offensive side of the floor is going to be completely fine. And defensively, they're probably a piece away, a PJ Tucker, whoever piece away, because KD and Taurean Prince are just not going to be able to do as much defensively throughout the year as you're going to need them to. You need a guy whose thing is defense. When you look up and down this roster, other than Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, TLC, they don't really have any other guys on this roster, on the wing specifically, that defense is their thing. And TLC's actually been pretty good. He's been able to knock some shots down off the ball, but you need to upgrade that spot if you're Brooklyn. I think they know that. And so keep an eye on this team as a possible, trade target throughout the year. If there's a wing, I continue to mention PJ Tucker, but if there's a, 3-and-D wing around the league that becomes available, whether it's Harrison Barnes or whatever the case may be, the Nets are going to constantly be a threat to bring in that player. So keep an eye on the Nets throughout the year. I know everybody's watching them. They're figuring out the KD and the Kyrie thing. It's unfortunate that both of them missed game winners last night. But at the end of the day, I do think that they're going to be fine. The record isn't what I want it to be right now. But you also have to consider that they're resting some of these guys. They're trying to figure out the Dinwiddie injury. They're still a mess defensively, just like most teams in the league. So I think ultimately they'll get there. They'll be fine. But keep an eye on this Nets team. And you'll kind of see some of the things that I'm talking about with the turnovers and the defensive rebounding. And I believe in Steve Nash. I think he's doing a good job. It's been, there's definitely been some up and down moments, but I think for the most part, as a team that seems together, it seems like they're on the same page, and there's just been some things that they need to clean up. And as long as they clean those things up throughout the year, I'm a Steve Nash believer. I'm all in on this team. So we'll kind of see what happens with them the rest of the year. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. I upload twice a day, every day, so it's a great place for consistent NBA content. You can also leave a like rating on the video as well. Helps me out a ton, lets me know that you're enjoying the content, and helps get it out to more people on YouTube as well. And you can check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen. They're in a link tree down in the description below. With all those things said, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.